If anything, the dark clouds which briefly shadowed parts of the Hunter Valley today helped to cool the air. Some rain did fall on sections of the valley, but there were no significant falls. The 6 millimetres or so which has been recorded over the past 24 hours is not enough for the region's farmers. At Singleton sale yards today, beef and dairy producers compared rainfall readings. None were encouraging.
We had an inch or so of rain a fortnight ago, which allowed us to sow a little bit of cattle feed, but then after that we had hot days, dried out. We had a storm there Sunday night, 160 points, which done a lot of damage, washed a lot of topsoil, hardened the top of the ground, but I understand since I left yesterday morning there was 20 points last night, which would help to soften the top to allow the seed to come through.
On the weekend we had a very rough weekend. The moisture we had over the new year, we had about 160 points. Well, it's all gone, and the hot weather, westerly winds, and as far as getting in for the winter, well, it's getting a bit late to grow our crops, like corn, saccharine and things like that.
So for the dairy farmer, this latest fall hasn't been of any real good at all?
No, there's been no benefit because the weather's been too hot after it to do any benefit to them. So I think.
Well, the Hunter region's done very well again. We always do well, we think, but this year I think our results are better than the average over the whole range. Interestingly enough, some of our country schools have turned in some excellent results, and Merriwar Central School, which is producing students for the first time, has results which are really right on the state average, which is a wonderful result for that school.
Now, we won't know whether some of our students have reached the top of the state for at least another month.
No, I'm not able to give you the results myself, and we know that the list of students who are in the top 1%, which was published in past years, will not be published until all the revisions have been done, so that no students will be disadvantaged.
Spokesman for the new group, Ben Ewell, says concern for the wilderness area and its natural beauty is growing.
Well, I think it is a very important issue because the Franklin River is really the last wild river in Australia. It is in Tasmania, but it is still part of Australia, and as Australians we feel concerned for this river. To find rivers of equal beauty and with equal amounts of water going down them, apart from this one we have to go to New Guinea or to New Zealand to find rivers of such magnitude. 30 people who are down there speak for that, and a lot of other people who are interested in the area but can't go down there now because of commitments to job and family, working to save the river, doing whatever they can in Newcastle.
After months of battling, the Stockton Ferry service will recommence in 2 weeks, just in time for the start of the new school year. The Urban Transit Authority has taken over the service from the private operator Davy Brothers. It's believed 2 ferries will be chartered, the former Stockton Ferry Edith and another ferry, the West Bank. The ferries will run every 15 minutes in peak hours and half-hourly at other times. Member for Newcastle, Mr Arthur Wade.
I think the frequency of service might be better. The prices are going to be the same as the inner Sydney Harbour service charges of 60 cents for an adult, 30 cents for a child, 30 cents for a pensioner or anyone on concession.
Will the Urban Transit Authority accept changes to the new scheme?
Well, I think there'll be a lot of changes because I've spoken to the members of the UTA and things that I've asked for are services so that a person can travel by ferry, bus, train, and like they do in Sydney. And I think from the inception that won't happen, but later on it will, and I think the timetables will alter as required, and I think this will be flexible.
So they are receptive to changes?
Oh, I hope so.
Seven years ago, we filmed this demonstration at Rathmines. The bus, travelling at 60 kilometres an hour, was brought to a stop without the driver touching the brake pedal. Cole Skelton, who died before seeing the worth of his invention recognised, showed us his deceptively simple idea. The brake is a heavy strip of rubber belting attached to the chassis of a truck or bus. It can be released in front of the rear wheels when all normal braking systems fail. Cole believed passionately in his invention, eventually selling his house to finance development, but could not find support in Australia. However, he always believed if he could get the brake to the world-renowned Geneva Trade Fair, it would prove a winner. When Cole died 3 years ago, his widow Irene was determined to carry on. She formed a company, secured worldwide patents, and with some help from the Department of Trade and Resources, eventually got the brake to Geneva.
It's been a long, hard battle all along. It's taken years. It's taken 5 years with Cole and then 3 years since.
You must be terribly thrilled though to now have that medal, to have that recognition for the invention.
Well, I'm proud. The whole family is proud because it's the medal that he was really after. Everything else is secondary as far as I'm concerned. It really is.
Are you at all bitter that you had to go overseas to get recognition? You couldn't get that recognition in Australia for what's obviously a good invention.
No, I'm not bitter about it, just disappointed to think that you've got to battle for years without getting any help or encouragement, really, is what you're after, is encouragement. The Australian inventor has to go overseas.
Russell Cheek's solo show is really quite a remarkable achievement. Using some brilliant masks and his own considerable talent, he expresses a satirical view of Australia's political system and bureaucracy, and he entertains alone for about 2 hours. Russell Cheek's vision of Australia's future, as expressed in 1983, isn't really all that much different from George Orwell's vision of 1984, but with a bit more humour and humanity. Russell Cheek also allows himself a few purely comic moments in his otherwise grim picture of the ordinary man as the victim of the system. Faces, Fakes and Falsehoods is perhaps a little long, but then every keenly observed character was worth including. I found it a very stimulating evening of theatre and a very stylish production. This deserves bigger audiences than it will probably attract in Newcastle.
I guess you're pretty impressed with what you've seen so far.
Yes, it's a very, very nice gym, and I like Newcastle a lot, as much as I've seen so far.
As much as you're on the wrong side of the car, you were telling me, on the wrong side of the road. And
everything.
But the basketball's the same out here.
Same thing.
Whereabouts did you learn your basketball, and whereabouts do you come from, in fact?
I come from San Diego, California, and born and raised there my whole life, and that's where I played college at too.
Right. Okay, what do you know of Newcastle basketball?
Nothing so far. Tonight will be my first practice, and I'll know a little more after tonight.
You have the advantage of having an old teammate, of course, already signed up for the South East League with the Newcastle Hunters.
Yes, Jim Bateman and I played in college for 2 years, and he's been over here a week and kind of filled me in on a few things, but not a whole lot.
What position do you take in the side?
Guard. He's a forward.
Okay, so we might see an American connection in the South East League with the Newcastle Hunters.
I hope so.
Miss Marilyn Jones, who reached the top in the world of ballet, is presently instructing at a ballet seminar at the Catholic Primary School in Charlestown. Organised by the school principal, Mari Walton, a 2-week-long seminar on classical and modern ballet, as well as mime, is being attended by almost 100 young girls and one boy, between 12 and 17 years old from all over Australia. Miss Jones, seen here providing classical instruction, left her home in Newcastle as a young girl to go on to become one of Australia's top ballerinas, having danced with the world's leading dance companies before returning to the Australian Ballet Company. Miss Jones retired from dancing professionally about 4.5 years ago. After reaching the dizzy heights of world fame, does she now enjoy the role as an instructor of our country's up-and-coming young dancers?
Yes, I am. I feel that I've had the opportunity to work with some great teachers in my time, and I gained and saved up their knowledge, and this is what I'm hoping to pass on to the younger generation, and it gives me a lot of pleasure to teach.
Well, it's only been about 4.5 years since you stopped dancing professionally. Never thought of making some sort of comeback?
No, when I did retire, I retired for several reasons. One was due to injuries, and I think the body, after a while, it's difficult to return, especially after 4.5 years.
It's tradition for the Lord Mayor to be the first guest speaker of the year for Newcastle Businessmen's Club. And today, after first outlining the difficulties of the council budget, Alderman Cummings had some good news. She said that by the middle of the year, a start could be made on a 250-room international hotel on the Frederick Ash site adjacent to the City Hall. It's an idea the council has been promoting for some time.
We have quite a few people interested. We have an American who is already sharing our interests, and other people are looking at it. I won't name them because we haven't named them yet to the City Hall, but they're very real, and they're very real people in the field of money lending and joining with people in such facilities.
Alderman Cummings didn't name the American hotel operator. She says has given the council a letter of firm interest. But the underlying suggestion is that if the project does go ahead, Newcastle will join more than 400 of the world's cities by having a Hilton hotel.
It's hard to imagine that this piece of heritage has been forgotten for more than 50 years. It was built by the Public Works Department in 1892 and acquired by the Water Board years later for the area's water supply. When Chichester Dam was built in the 1920s, the Walker Water Works, as it is known, closed down. Its potential for a tourist resort has only now been realised. The building stretches across 65 hectares of countryside, overlooking this waterway. Today, the President of the Hunter District Water Board, Dr Patterson, discussed the site's potential with council officials and the member for Maitland, Mr Alan Walsh. Signs of the past linger in almost every corner of the building. Still evident are the former railway tracks used to bring in coal to fire the steam engines. Unfortunately, much of the building's history has been destroyed. Steam engines and pumps were removed 30 years ago for scrap. But those interested in giving the old building new life believe it can become the home of Maitland's heritage.
The building behind us, I think, could make a marvellous technological museum for the not only for Maitland but for the whole of the Hunter Valley. We don't have a museum, for example, to locate a lot of the artefacts, the historical artefacts associated with the valley, with farming and early industry. So that in itself would be a marvellous tourist attraction. The surrounding acreages and the lake would make a very nice open space recreation area for not only for the Maitland people, but for the people from Newcastle and surrounding areas.
Off the ground you need a lot of support.